Hey, how's it going guys, ZDEyE here. So today I wanted to give you my review of Demon's Souls Remake. Now, I'll be getting into some of the bad things of course as well, but I want you to be certain that this review will be praising this game most of the time. Because to be honest with you, this game is brilliant. It really is phenomenal. But also, I definitely needed to mention this, because we understand that this is a remake. I have to mention that I will be mentioning some things that may not be good things in terms of a remake. And maybe I'll get into it right now. Remake, well, what do we consider as a remake, right? We basically consider a step up from the original game in terms of the quality and the gameplay, life improvements as well, but perhaps sometimes you would expect a little bit more, some changes in some ways. Bluepoint Games, as a studio, that themselves even mentioned that they wanted to be true to this remake. They did not want to change pretty much anything. And that is the downfall, because let me tell you, remake does not necessarily mean you're gonna have to take the original game and just make it pretty much a fantastic remaster. And this remake is more like a remaster if you really think about it, including a lot more than a remaster usually does. But again, this is not exactly their fault of wanting to go with a very familiar Demon's Souls, but a lot of people, and to be honest in some ways me as well, were expecting a little bit more in terms of the something changes, right? Because let me tell you, few negative points in this game that I can definitely see is the bosses. Not all of them, a couple of them. One in particular is the Dragon God. If you guys know, basically all you have to go to the right side, make sure you avoid Dragon's gates so he doesn't kill you, and yeah, just pretty much shoot those giant arrows or crossbow bolts, whatever they are, into his hands. And then you go to the other side, you use crossbow bolt again, and you bring him down and you finish him off right there and then. In the original, it was not considered to be a very good boss battle. And to be honest, during this boss, I died the most of the times through a whole Demon's Souls experience. Seriously, I have never died more than twice in any of the bosses in this game in Demon's Souls Remake. Here's another negative point. I think this game is too easy. I really do believe that. But we have to consider this in my fact. I have played... played is a very light word. I have played the shit out of these Dark Souls-like experiences as well, right? I played Dark Souls 1 remastered, but I played Dark Souls 2, the Scholar of the Sin, I think was the name, I can't remember. I'll make sure to put up on the screen just to be sure if I'm correct or wrong. But anyway, and then I played Dark Souls 3, I got Bloodborne, I played, I played Sekiro Shadows Die twice, I played The Search 2, Neo 2, and every game, Code Vein as well, Jedi Fallen Order, they're like sort of similar to Souls series types. I've gotten every single one of them a platinum trophy. So you can clearly see that I know what I'm doing with these sort of games and I'm extremely familiar. And so this is why Demon's Souls in this particular way, it was not much of a challenge for me. It really wasn't. The most times I died was getting to those bosses and encountering the enemies. But it's also because I was being impatient. I want to get into the boss battle once and twice I think it was, and that's it, that's all I wanted to do. The hardest boss I've encountered was the gargoyles, the man-eaters, because there were two of them and it was a very shitty area to be fighting in, on the bridge. Obviously, if they push you off, well, you're done because you're gonna fall to your death. Now again, I actually thought that was a great fight, even though it was very unfair and very inconsistent. Even in this remake, it just made no damn sense. Some of the pillars that disappeared and the gargoyle is standing on top of the pillar while the pillar's not there. So you see what I mean? There still are issues even in the remake. And yes, there's some exploits, glitches. Oh, perhaps I should definitely mention this. I did not even once use any glitches, cheeses, or exploits. None of that. I do know there are like existence of a gold coin or something. Yeah, gold coin, and you can get like an infinite luck thing, or at least somewhat to an infinite. Then you have to get a particular weapon. I didn't want to bother with all that crap. I only wanted to do is simply go for a platinum trophy on this game. Let me tell you as well, guys, I did not yet achieve a platinum for this game, because all I have to do pretty much at this point is get the magic spells and rings and etc. Those sort of things, basically collecting the whole thing. So now I had to replay the game to achieve these things and collect them as well. So yeah, that's gonna be a little bit of a pain in the ass, and but still, it's definitely worth replaying this game alone again, specifically for these things. And because I truly appreciated it, I've really liked where this game's coming from and how it's going about. Okay, I loved this idea of again, this has been already done, and it's Demon's Souls 2009 has not changed. I like the idea of going back and forward into Nexus and then coming back into the different area that you actually want to go. Maybe you don't want to continue on from this point on, this area. I love that. I actually really like that. That's like what makes it interesting, that From Software, they usually have these sort of implementations, like in Bloodborne as well, that you could actually go to different chalices and it was your choice, and I really like that. Some ways they were locked, some ways they are unlocked, some things you need to meet the requirements. You know, I love the progression in the sort of a game, and you know, it keeps the game a little bit more linear than it perhaps should be. Right? And it's not as interconnected as I felt it was in Dark Souls. Specifically, I'm talking about Dark Souls 1. But Demon's Souls still does a fantastic job in my opinion. Okay, I need to mention this since this is a remake. It's done by Bluepoint Games. It's a fantastic, beautifully crafted environment. Characters, oh my god, characters. God, so gorgeous. Beautiful. Maiden in Black looks gorgeous than ever. Even though I had to kill her at the end of the game because for the trophy. Shit. That's considered to be a bad ending if you guys did not know. Again, guys, I'm not going to be saying anything regarding if it's spoilers or not. We're talking about an 11-year-old game. Do you know what I mean? Like, and there's been no changes in terms of the story and things that could have been, gone with. They have added though a few extra things, like a locked door for you to find a key, a specific key, and that you can actually get one of the best armors or something like that. I can't remember exactly, but a lot of people already figured it out finally, and that was actually fun to see and how the approach has actually progressed. Okay, so there is a fantastic combat. This gameplay, this combat is phenomenal. I'm having a blast with it, with brand new animations that Bluepoint actually have added. Thank you, this actually makes it so much more uniqueness in this. I love it. I like the way they have implemented the rolling mechanic and the system of that, because before it was only a 4-way rolling, right? Back, forward, back, and left and right, basically. That's it. But now there's an 8-way, so you can go more ways you can actually roll around the enemies or around the bosses or whatnot. And so I love that. Thank you so much for that. Definitely life improvement definitely was necessary. I personally think so. Okay, now the very, very good character customization, even though unfortunately you don't get to kind of redo your character when you finish the game into your New Game Plus mode. But yes, I do know there's another way of doing it. I'm not going to mention it here because that's actually a brand new feature that was introduced in a remake, that you can change your character's look. Okay, so I love the new secrets. I love the secrets in overall that was reintroduced, and I love the secrets that has been a new implementation from Bluepoint. Like I already mentioned about the door, I love that. Since this also a game been specifically made for the PlayStation 5, so you already know that the optimization would be phenomenal. And the loading screen, 60 FPS, and that's the way I wanted to go about it, is incredibly done. Fantastic job. Loading is super seamless and super fast. Like literally takes seconds, and there is no waiting pretty much. I really appreciate this, and just makes it so much more, kind of a less frustrating, if that makes sense. I have to mention this. This is a con. I don't understand why there's still no way to sell items. Instead, you just dismantle them, or I'm not too sure, maybe you give them away. Remember, guys, I'm not too familiar with this, but there is no way to sell items. I don't understand that part. Like, why did Bluepoint not introduce that? Maybe it was to, like, kind of taking things away from the original Demon's Souls, and maybe that's why they wanted to stay true again. You see what I mean? These things that they decided to go with, they could have improved and could have introduced, but they decided against it because they wanted to stay true to this remake. And that is a downfall, I personally think so. Now, you're introducing the issues that the original game had into your remake. And even though Bluepoint Games studio, they even said, the developers, that they wanted to make sure, even if there are glitches in the game, they wanted to implement some of those glitches into this remake as well. I commend them for it, But also we have to understand, for example, they could have done some few changes to make this game even better than ever. And I really believe that they could have done this. As remember, like already touched on, the Dragon God, they could have changed this around to some ways. They could have done this better, but no, they just stayed the same as always. And I don't know if that's exactly a good thing. Now, again, guys, I'm not too sure if I have to consider this as a negative. I'm not, personally, this is nitpicking shit. I'm not gonna mention this as a negative, but I will mention it just, because it is a review, right? Okay, there's still no difficulty for the not much fans of this genre. So this depends of how you want to go and play this game. For example, if you're brand new to these sort of Souls series types, you are gonna have a tough time if you're brand new into this. You have to get used to it. I actually had a little bit of a difficulty of adjusting to the controls at the very beginning, but after like an hour, even less, I was seamless, and I had just gone breezed through right, and it was incredibly easy, at least personally for me, and I'm sure a lot of hardcore fans I would have actually felt the same. But for the newcomers, they may have some difficulties of adjusting. There's a lot of things that you need to get yourself familiarized. If that is the case, I would highly encourage you to check out some of the guides. Now, I don't encourage you to check out the walkthroughs though, because they will spoil the whole experience. And playing a game is actually experiencing for yourself. Even the things that you believe is correct and that could be wrong, just enjoy the game in the way you want to. Make sure you don't actually, don't let somebody else tell you how you should be doing this particular thing, what kind of weapons are the best or the worst, so you should not be using or should be using. Just, you must enjoy the game for yourself. The game is not impossible, it truly is not. You can still get through this game, take your time with every enemies, every bosses, because let me tell you, there are only about 3 to 4 majorly, I could see difficult bosses for the newcomers, personally. A lot of bosses are slow and very predictable in their patterns. Now, this is a different story in terms of getting to those bosses and NPCs that you have to encounter, meet. There's some quests and side quests that you can go through. There's a lot of collectibles you'll need to collect. You have to consider the weight limit of how much stuff you can carry on you. You have to consider where you need to find some of these rings, some elements, some spells and stuff like that. NPCs to save, because some of those NPCs can actually have some of the things that you will require for later, or at least for your own enjoyment that you could use. So you see, when you get to those bosses and patterns that you learn of, there are a lot of bosses very slow. But one of the bosses that's considered to be difficult is a Flame Lurker. He was actually in the early gameplay presentation for the Demon's Souls remake. Also, another one that I already touched on is the Man-Eaters. There are 2 gargoyles common to the boss you have to pretty much defeat. And they can be difficult because especially you're going to be fighting them pretty much on the bridge. A Dragon God also, but that's not exactly you can do really much about it or too much about it. And of course, you can keep repeating it. It is somewhat forgiving, somewhat forgiving, that I should say again. Fake, or I should say King Alland, the fake one anyway. I'm not gonna mention who else, not the very final boss, but the second final boss, if that makes sense. But anyway, he actually is also considered to be difficult. Maybe newcomers will have some difficulties of adjusting as well. Some people may consider a Tower Knight actually difficult as well. If that's the case, just make sure you don't take care of those archers on the top. Personally, I just didn't bother with them. Like I said, it's not that difficult, the game is, it really isn't. Just make sure you get adjusted, make sure you be more confident in your abilities, just make sure you get your muscle memory right, and make sure you block, make sure you utilize your shields most of the time. And also, by the way, do have 2 different variations of weapons. One is like a long sword type, and the other is a shorter sword type. Again, you can use your own like a hammer or mace or spear, whatever, right? You can use however you want to, these weapons, right? So basically in tight corners you use the short sword. In more open areas, make sure you use your long sword and as such, something longer ranged weapons. Not necessarily the bow, but yes, do utilize the bow because it can be very helpful, to be honest with you. If you guys do not know what I'm talking about, specifically in these longer ranged weapons and shorter range weapons in wide and tighter environments, because the weapons don't actually just magically go through the walls and hit your your target, because they can hit off the walls and never hit or land at somebody, and it can result of you dying because of that. So shorter swords means you have a bigger opportunity of actually hitting somebody in the very tight corners. This game can be claustrophobic, but if you are having these sort of issues as like claustrophobia, do not worry, because there's not that much that you would be like, oh my god, I'm getting pressured. Because the way the camera is very smartly done, I personally think. I'm not too sure if this was done in 2009 or the remake has introduced this anyway. But basically, there's a way that the camera zooms in, zooms out every time when you're in the tight corners. It doesn't feel like you're being like you're gonna get that kind of claustrophobic feels for this game. Don't worry. So make sure, again, just take some of these tips that I mentioned in here. Okay, I know there are some, these things I've just mentioned, they are very, straightforward, it's understandable, but again, we have to consider. I'm talking about for the newcomers and guys and stuff like that. And sure, some of the things I mentioned here, a lot of people may not know. It's pretty normal. When I first started playing these Souls types of games, I had no damn clue what the hell I was supposed to be doing, and I did not know that the longer range weapons can actually hit off the walls and never land an attack, and this will result in me dying. Yeah, so there are games a lot more forgiving, just a sword magically goes right through the wall and hits my target. There are games like that. I think you know what games those are as well. Alright guys, I feel like I've dragged this too long, but anyway, I feel like I have talked everything I wanted about this Demon's Souls remake. If I would have had to give it a score, I would give it like an 8 or 9 out of 10. This definitely is not a 10 out of 10. On my good day I give it a 9, on my bad day I give it an 8. If to be honest, I enjoyed this remake so much, and I'm gonna be replaying it again for Platinum. There's no way I could possibly give it an 8, could I? Okay, that's it. My final score will be a 9, that's for sure. 9 out of 10. Alright, well then tell me down in the comments, what did you think about the Dark Souls, Demon's Souls remake, and if you have played it, perhaps are you going to be picking it up when you do receive your PlayStation 5, or perhaps you already have your PlayStation 5, you didn't consider getting the Demon's Souls yet? Because let me tell you, it's plenty of fun, and there's even more content I did not mention. Thank you so much for watching guys, like and subscribe, see you guys all, have a wonderful day.